Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Hobby Night Gaming. I'm Angela, and today we are going to be reacting to the latest Space Marine trailer because, as you all know, I have been waiting for this game. You all have been waiting for this game, and we, of course, have some new footage to look at. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight in and see what kind of stuff we've got to look at.
From the very start of my time with Space Marine 2, I was taken aback by the sheer scale, atmosphere, and attention to detail that was being showcased. The pride
It
and
does
care
look
emanating
amazing
from
already.
Just this snippet of the grim dark
Look at the
world that
Chaos
Saber
Marines!
Interactive has built is palpable, and something I believe will resonate with both newcomers to the franchise and longtime fans of Warhammer 40k.
As a
During
longtime
my
fan,
hands-on
I am
preview of Space Marine 2,
loving the way
I was
this
given
looks.
access to a couple of non-campaign PvE missions, as well as a campaign mission from around the halfway point of the story. The mission
my God,
opens
look at
with
the
Titus
tanks!
and his squad exiting their ship onto
Ah!
a landing pad
I love
with
when
an
they do
Imperial
that.
Guard staging area just beyond. Through this section, I saw an exciting glimpse of life among the war-torn Imperium.
Hey, we all have that,
Military
like,
units bowing
that
and
particular
kneeling at the
terrain
sight of
piece.
Space Marines, a commander delivering a rousing speech from atop an enormous
So
Baneblade
cool.
tank, a
Oh!
commissar delivering punishment to soldiers found guilty of cowardice, troops
Cowardice!
burning mounds of tyrannid corpses with flamers, and so much more. This
Oh,
small
man.
section really drove home.
Okay. Just looking at these to start us off, like, all of the combat with the Tyranids looked amazing. One of the things that I really, really, really like about good Warhammer 40k games is when the dev team really gets the setting and a lot of the little minutia parts correct, which makes it feel like you're actually in that world. And as somebody who has recently been complaining about how I feel like the miniatures from Warhammer 40k have been losing a lot of their detail and a lot of their grim darkness and their gothic elements, it's really nice to see that still all here on Primaris Space Marine designs, mind you, but like at least still captured in video game form. At least somebody's getting it right. Let's continue the video.
How much effort has gone into the game's world building, and immediately made me think that Space Marine 2 could very well be the most authentic Warhammer 40k game we've ever seen.
I mean, it's
And since I know
looking
so many have
stunning.
been curious, it's an experience that you can indeed play through.
Oh, I
with
can't wait
or
to kill some
without your
Tyranids, my poor
helmet.
baby bug
In my last
boys.
preview, I said that Space Marine 2 really makes you feel like a Space Marine, and it's
Okay, I know that we've gotten like full units and such in stuff like Dawn of War, but it's always been at a really small scale. I I don't know if I've actually seen like in game where I'll be able to run up to them this large of a group of Space Marines together as a squad that I can then involve myself with. Because I feel like every time I'm doing anything in a single player game or like, you know, stuff like Dawn of War, of course you've got your units, but those are like it's just not the same. It's just not the same. This is so exciting and I'm so I'm incomprehensible. I can't even formulate words with how much I am ready for this game.
You feel like you're in Warhammer 40k. A large part of this is thanks to the game's combat.
Yes! I love that we can still execute. That's great. Love seeing that back.
More of you than 2011 Space Marine, but it also retains the same feeling of brutal, grimdark action that made the original great. This makes for a more...
I love the
Marines
variety we've
hack-and-slash
seen
game,
of
which
Tyranid
works
creatures and
incredibly
just
well.
like
However,
growths
and it may
on the
be because
planet.
the
Like,
mission I
that's
played
been so
was set at the
cool.
midpoint of the campaign, I did initially feel
I can't wait for heavy
overwhelmed by
weapons.
the variety of inputs, enemies,
All of the guns are going to be
counters,
amazing.
abilities,
Oh, the
and
melee weapons. I can't
resources
wait for those
that
either.
made up my first Savage melee.
So good.
But after learning the language of Space Marine 2's combat, the blend of ranged firepower and close quarters battle quickly became much more fluid
Jump
and so
packs!
satisfyingly brutal.
Oh, you can shoot from in the air? Oh my god, that dive was sick!
Light swings of a chainsword
I think you could do something similar, but I don't know, remember if you could shoot from the air previously. I know you could do big like jumps.
Add complexity and are vital if you want to emerge from each
That looks
bloody
so cool.
maelstrom
Looks so fun.
unscathed. Parryable attacks will flash with a blue circle, and nailing one of these can immediately kill a smaller enemy or interrupt a larger foe's combo and leave them open for attack. Unblockable attacks are denoted by a red circle and must be dodged with a quick backstep or full-on combat roll. Perfectly timed dodges or parries can open up enemies to a gun strike, which is a counter
I
that
will
delivers a
probably
devastating
never
pistol
successfully
shot
do a
at
parry,
close
but I
range.
will try.
Lighter enemy attacks won't give you the same warning, but after an hour or so of battle, I found myself able to instinctively react to those moves too. It was at this
Ah,
point when
I can't
Space Marine
wait.
2's flow of
Uh,
combat
I
began
want
to
to
almost
instinctively
remind me
react
of
to Space
Sekiro,
Marines as
albeit
well.
with a
I
chainsaw
just want to
swinging
be a Space
superhuman
Marine,
from the
guys. I
far
just want to be a
future,
Space Marine.
rather than a katana wielding shinobi. Chaining together attacks, parries, and dodges will quickly leave enemies exposed and vulnerable to executions, killing blows that the Space Marine 2 team was
Oh,
obviously delighted to
oh,
encounter.
that's so
Each
sick.
execution seemed more visceral and satisfying than the last, from tearing limbs off of
These do like just. I'm gonna pause real quick. These do look really cool. Like all of the executions, all of the hey, you're gonna like one hit KO this person or interrupt. They've like nailed the vibe of that so well, and the combat looks genuinely so fun to play with.
Tyranid
I can't
warriors
wait.
to ripping apart the
Oh,
sealed
oh, oh, oh. I didn't know we were gonna get to fight Thousand Sons in this specifically. Oh, my boys. Oh, that's so
Warhammer
cool.
of the traitorous Thousand Sons. Executions are also vital to
I
the
love
flow
the
of
like
combat, as each
Zinchi
one
and
will refill a
Sparks. That's
portion
so
of your
good.
armor. Previously, in the original Space Marine, executions would heal you, but this time health is returned through the use of consumable stims that must be found throughout the level,
Oh,
forcing
interesting.
you to be more
Okay.
mindful of your resources even as you charge.
Okay, so you
into
gotta be
the
a little bit
fray.
more mindful of
There was
resources.
also much more strategy
Excellent.
to be found in Space Marine 2's combat. A horde of Tyranids with varying enemy types can offer both different challenges
Were those
and
Traitor
opportunities.
Guardsmen
Do you
or were
strike at
those
the smaller mobs to thin the horde and give you more room to maneuver,
Tyranid
or do
G
you
Stealer
weather their
cults?
blows and focus on the
I'm gonna
larger
choose to
warrior
believe they were
enemies
G.
with the goal of cutting their synaptic link and in turn taking down surrounding lesser Tyranids?
Oh, it's
There
so
may also be
big.
ranged enemy types to consider, firing strangling thorns that can slow movement or apply poison, or even hovering zoanthropes buffing nearby creatures with a psychic link, requiring you to break from the immediate close quarters battle to close the distance or engage these Xenos with ranged firepower.
I
While
love
only
this.
saw a portion of the
God,
combat
there's so much. They've
Space Marine 2
nailed
has to
this.
offer,
They've
the brutal
nailed
ballet of battle only grew
everything
more
so far, and I haven't
varied
even
more
played it
satisfying
yet, and I
across the
feel
demo.
like that's
As I made my way
God.
deeper
I
into
hope
the
it
mission,
works
more
as well as
tools
it's
and
looking
weaponry
like.
became available, such as the jump pack, which allowed me to fire hails
Yes,
of bolts
tell me
from
about
up
the
on
jump pack
high
more.
and dive back into combat with a devastating strike from above.
Oh,
In last
look at
year's
how
Space
cool
Marine 2
that
preview,
is!
there were only Tyranids to fight. This time around, though, Chaos has reared its ugly head, and I was able to see the Thousand Sons Chaos Space Marines in action, leading to a lot of intense scenarios. One moment saw me enter a giant plaza where Thousand
That's so
Sons
cool.
and their summoned demons and cultists were engaged with the Termagants, Hormagaunts, and warriors of the Tyranids. I believe an Astartes would call
So
that
Zinch
a
is messing with the
target-rich environment.
nids?
Following that carnage, the campaign portion of my
Tell me down in the comments because I don't actually know how often chaos involves themselves with Tyranids because I didn't think they could really affect them at all. And so, because of the hive mind and everything, I just didn't think they were like pervious to chaos influence. I've never heard of a chaos nid, whereas I have heard of like chaos orcs before. They're rare. They tend to go for corn, but like it does happen occasionally. I don't know if I've ever like known chaos to just mess with the hive. So the fact that we're actually seeing that in this is very cool to me, very different. So I'm kind of it makes me more interested in playing it on top of my already excitement for the game because obviously I don't know where this is going specifically. But if you guys have read books, because I have not read that many of like the Black Library books, I've read some, but not that many, and most of them have been Horus Heresy stuff. So the Tyranids weren't even involved in it anyways. Let me know. Does that happen very often? Because I don't feel like I've heard of it.
preview culminated in a boss fight with a Thousand Sun Sorcerer, which not only provided a completely
look so
different
cool.
gameplay
They look so cool.
experience, but was also one heck of a visual
I can't wait to make a
spectacle.
Death
As
Guard
he
and
cast
character
spells and
creation
traversed
in
across
the
arena,
for the PvP
I noticed
stuff.
horrific eyes emerging from the walls and ceiling
Where?
of the room. Shortly after, the ground below him turned to liquid that rippled towards me and my squad. An absolutely perfect visual realization of Warhammer's
I do
warp
see some
magic.
eyes
The battle
hopping
was
on the
completely
floor a little
different to
bit.
the rest of the demo I played, but these visual details, as well as the attacks and the overall design of my final foe, were another element that really drove home Space Marine 2's attention.
I love the floating in like sign in the air. Like we've seen Zinch and the Chaos Forces approached in a lot of different ways over time. And I always like I think Zinch is one of the more fun ones to see how a dev team takes it because it is the I think, most abstract of all of the 4 chaos gods. Like, with Khorne, you obviously know you're going skulls, blood, classic viscera. With Nurgle, you're going gardens and decay, but growth, and everything's pustulant, and you know what your color scheme is going to be there too. And while you know your color scheme with Tzeentch, which is going to be a lot of pinks and purples, I feel like there is a lot more you can do with the visualization of it because it is change. Whereas, like, even with Slaanesh, where you can still get a little bit more varied, I suppose, because you have a lot of purples, I guess, but you can do a lot more with your visualization because excess opens itself up to that. They just don't like to touch it very often. But, like, Tzeentch also gets to play so often, and I love the floating situation. I love all the visuals.
Strive to bring so many of the elements of Warhammer 40,000 to life. Finally, as a massive Warhammer fan,
all the different locations,
out and get excited about the visuals on display in Space Marine 2. Not only were there tons of little details in the characters, armor, weapons.
That is a beautifully rendered bolt rifle. Holy cow. Okay, this is what I mean when I say that GW is slacking when it comes to the visual presentation of their models. Because if we're going to get this, like, I get this as a relic, but, like, you could still give me a stripped down version of this that is more detailed than what we are getting out of the sculpts. And it bothers me.
NPCs and environments for Warhammer fans to pick apart.
God, this game looks amazing, though.
Looks bloody fantastic, too. From the explosions of your bolt rounds and the streaks of gore as you cleave an enemy in two, to the massive skies filled with flying enemies and dank,
everything's gorgeous
jungle environments. Space Marine 2 is shaping up to be a feast for the eyes, albeit a brutal one.
I want it to be. It should be brutal. It's the 41st millennium.
Authentic feeling.
And there's war. And as Fallout has taught us, war never changes. And it definitely has it in the 41st millennium.
Experience a couple of Space Marine 2's co-op missions. The operations mode
tell me about the co-op.
Alongside the main story
tell me it works
Space Marine
well.
2, but sees you play as your own customizable Astartes in a squad of 3. One of the missions, aptly named Decapitation, saw my squad springing a trap on a Tyranid hive tyrant, knowing that doing so would disable the Tyranid swarm that Lieutenant Titus was fighting in the same campaign mission I just completed. These replayable PvE missions being so tightly connected to the main story makes them feel much more impactful.
It's actually really cool. I didn't know they were going to be that tied to the main story.
You feel like you're part of the bigger picture, even when you're replaying them as different classes or taking them on with a more casual approach as you try out new weapons or difficulties. From what I played,
sick! So you can also use it as training. I love that kind of element.
Through each playthrough, and each will generally take you about 30 minutes on the standard difficulty. Variety mostly comes from Space Marine 2's AI director, changing up the enemies as it responds to your class and playstyle, or even springing surprise ambushes.
That's really cool. I love when a game dev team will make some really dynamic AI for us to play with. It just ends up being so much more engaging as a player. And honestly, this sounds really cool. I love adaptive style AI. If you guys played Resident Evil 4, that was also very adaptive, where if you were doing well or you were like leveled up and stuff, things would be tougher. And it was very well balanced. It grew with you. And it sounds like this is going to do the same thing and even adjust to what weapons you're using, which one is exciting because that might give you more of an opportunity to justifiably change up what you're running and try different things. Additionally, it just makes it more challenging, which can often be more fun, especially if you're like really vibing with the game, you've played through it maybe once already, and you want to go through on a harder difficulty and really have like an extra punch of like challenge. That I feel like gives you that extra punch if it's done well, and it sounds like it's being done well.
Actually surprised by how varied the class system was, as each had access to a different arsenal of weapons, unique perks, abilities, and filled their own niche on the battlefield.
Good, they actually followed the lore then.
Butter Astartes, and has access to the most ranged weapons, as well as a chainsword and an Auspex scan ability that both reveals enemies and makes them more vulnerable to damage. The Assault class lacks any ranged weaponry beyond a pistol, but has access to the most powerful melee weapons, as well as a jump pad
Thunder Hammer!
And assault groups of enemies
above. Oh,
Vanguard,
you could do the
meanwhile,
jump with
is
a
lightly
thunder hammer
armored
too.
and more
Sick.
suited for close
Yes.
quarters combat and focusing on
And
single
of course you
targets.
probably can, but
With
like,
access
oh, it's
to
so cool
bolt
to see.
carbines, a melter rifle, which in Space Marine 2 mostly functions
Nice.
like
I
a
love it.
superheated shotgun,
Yes.
and a grapnel launcher ability that allows them to propel themselves towards foes with a diving kick and engage with their giant dueling knives, which makes this
kick
class
things
great
and
for
then
folks
duel
looking
them
to
with
get
my
up close
knives.
and personal with their enemies. Bulwarks are the tank class and forego a main ranged weapon in favour of a giant shield that they wield alongside pistols and powerful melee weapons. Their special
I think he's
ability
using
is
the
to
shield
deploy
as a
chapter
melee
banner,
weapon a little bit
restoring
there.
armor to all squad members nearby. This makes them perfect at clearing hordes, staying in the thick of the fight, and soaking up enemy damage.
Okay.
Snipers are, you guessed it, equipped with a selection of long-ranged weapons such as the Bolt Sniper and Las Fusil. They're great at starting off fights with a couple of long-ranged headshots.
I do
into
really
any
like
enemies,
the
and their
grapple
camo cloak
forward.
ability
That's really
allows
fun.
them to turn invisible
I
for
might
a
play
period of
Assault.
time, which is useful for breaking contact, flanking,
more than I
and
thought I
picking
might.
off pesky ranged enemies. Lastly, the heavy class wields the big
Yeah,
guns
heavy
like the
boy!
heavy bolter, heavy plasma incinerator,
Yes.
or multi-melter. Their weapons are so heavy that they don't actually get access to a melee weapon, instead having to swing their guns into the jaws
they'll
of
just
foes
use it
or
as a
deliver brutal
battering ram.
kicks to an enemy's body. They are, however, the best at clearing hordes from range and delivering heavy firepower, with their Iron Halo ability creating
And
a
stun
barrier
being
that can block
heavies.
incoming ranged damage, allowing you to keep your finger on the trigger. All of these classes are cosmetically customizable, although from my time with the game, I feel as though it takes a little too long to earn some basic customization options. For example, if you want to buy the color Caliban Green to swap your chapter to Dark Angels as I did, you first have to use your well-earned credits to buy the chapter icon, and only then can you obtain the color. However, the credits you use for hot new paint jobs are also required for purchasing class and weapon perks as you work to progress through their respective trees, making this currency even more precious. Obviously, this was a preview build, so numbers may be tweaked and there may be other methods to earn said credits in the final release, but it did cause some concern over how much grinding may be required.
I will admit, I'm just going to pause him right there on the grinding point, because that does worry me a little bit, especially since I know a lot of fans, like a lot of you that I've talked to who are interested in this game and who have been waiting for this game and are excited about the fact that you can do the customization and such. That does worry me, but I am also mildly optimistic that we will see other ways to earn the currency in the actual game, since this is an alpha, have access to everything yet. I am optimistic that that is in fact the case. Let's all pray, Sheen Spirit, to the God Emperor, to the Chaos Gods, whoever you want to, the Eldari Gods. I don't care. Sacrifice somebody to Cain. I don't know. Bring Cain forward. Force Saber to like make the game exactly as we want. But I think it'll be fine. I actually think it'll be fine. I'm not actually worried that much.
To craft your
all things
Astartes to your taste. Overall, Space Marine 2 is shaping up to be a more than worthy successor to the 2000.
I can really start to forgive a lot of things as long as it's fun and it looks
Space
cool.
Marine
And
is still here, but
I don't know
a
about
more
the fun thing
considered
yet because I
and
haven't played
evolved
it.
version of itself.
It's looking really
all of
cool.
which comes together to make Space Marine 2 feel like both a familiar old
And all the
friend
attacks
and an
feel
exciting
like
new
they are going to
experience. Space Marine 2's release date of September 9th is now
Or they
just
look
a
like they're
few
gonna feel
weeks
right, I
away.
guess is how I should say
And while
that.
there are a few elements that we've yet to see, such as the PvP mode Eternal War, there are already a lot of reasons for gamers and Warhammer fans to be excited about Space Marine 2. As someone who has
I'm
been
just
a
looking
huge
forward to
40K
going
fan
through
for
all the different
over half of
environments.
his life, I have never been more excited about a Warhammer video game.
I also have never been more excited about a Warhammer video game. Which is just, I mean, I've been pretty excited about a lot of Warhammer video games. Look at the Viscera. Amazing. I am like, okay, so the thing that he was talking about the costs of some of the ways to change out which characters you are or which chapters you're representing does have me mildly concerned, but like I said, I'm very optimistic they're going to do the right thing and there's going to be other ways to earn that currency. Hopefully that isn't just spending real money. Let's hope it's not just through like, well, they wouldn't do a battle pass with like goodness, I hope not. But overall, I'm super excited for this. We do know that the game is coming out in September, I believe it is. Is that ad thing? Heck. Look at all it just everything looks so cool. Like he obviously hasn't unlocked this, but like look how cool. And then you can change all your colors. Ugh! I could gush about it forever. Frankly. Let's see. Okay, was it near the end here when it comes out?
While there are a few elements that we've yet to see, such as the PvP mode Eternal War, there are already a lot of reasons for gamers and Warhammer fans to be excited about Space Marine 2. As someone who has been a huge 40k fan for over half of his life, I have never been more excited about a Warhammer video game.
Alright, he didn't say when it came out, but I believe it's in September. Regardless, whenever it comes out, I am with the Chaos Cultist. We're going to co-op it. I'm so looking forward to it. I really hope that you guys are too. Like, just everything about this. I didn't realize Tzeentch was in there. I might have missed that if it was in other trailers or anything like that. But, like, I'm so hyped. I can't wait to find out what's going on with these sneaky boys. Changing boys. Oh, it's going to be so good. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please give the video a like. Make sure to give me a comment down below of whether or not you're hyped for Space Marine. Or if you're just like, nah, this doesn't look like my type of game. I don't know why you're on this channel watching me if that's the case. But you know what? If you are, and that is your choice, tell me why. What about it don't you think it looks cool? I think it looks rad. All right. I have been Angela. I hope you all have a wonderful hobby night. And I will see you all next time. Bye.